Okay guys, I'm here to show you a quick tutorial on proper soldering techniques. I've seen a lot of garbage online. People are heating up the PCB too much, or they're heating up the wires too much, which can cause rapid oxidation of the wire. So the trick is to start with fresh, clean wire, which you can see right here. This one here is garbage. So I'm going to go ahead and clip it off. I'm going to strip it out, and I'm actually going to solder it to this ground lug right here. Normally I wouldn't, but this is just for demonstration. So I'm going to clip off just a little bit. Actually, you can tell right there some of the fibers were broke off, so I'm going to clip that one again. Do it again. Okay, much better. So if some of the conductor gets cut off when you strip it, go ahead and clip it and strip it again, because that's going to create a skinny spot in your conductor, and skinny spots are where high current will cause burn throughs. So if you ever have that situation like I just had where some of your conductor gets ripped out, go ahead and clip it. We'll redo it. So I'm going to start out here. I got bare wire, and I've got a bare lug right here on my PCB. Now this will happen, this can be any copper trace, you know, as long as it's clean, which this one here probably is because I just removed the screw. You're going to find out that usually you're not going to need flux. I repair electronics for a living, and I hardly ever use flux, so you're going to see I'm not going to need it this time either. So let's go ahead and bring this up. I'm going to lay my wire down here, hopefully so I can get this in frame. There we go. I always use pliers like this to help hold my wires. And I have just regular flux core solder. And what I'm going to do, here, if I can get this guy to sit still, I've got my soldering iron heated up. Now I use a hotter iron than what a lot of people use. Mine is set at 408 degrees C. It's anything above 380 is what I usually use. And the reason is because if you properly tin your wire and the place where the wire is going to go, whether it's a PCB or another wire, the technique takes only seconds. And you're not heating up the wire, so you can go ahead and use a hotter iron. That way there, if you have situations like here where you can see the ground lug is actually going to be heat sinked by this actual heat sink. You can tell it's touching, so it's going to draw heat away from it, and that can normally cause problems if you use a lower wattage soldering iron. So I've got a beastie soldering iron here, so I'm gonna run it hot. You can tell right away that my tip is dirty. You can tell by the color, the sheen. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean the tip. Now to clean the tip of my iron, see if I can get this in frame. I just use I don't know if that's just metal shavings, but it works really good. It works a lot better than the wet pad. So I'll show you. This here is a dirty tip. You can see it. It's kind of dull luster. I just brush it real quick. You can see how shiny the tip is. So I'm going to pre-tin my tip a little bit. This aids with the heat when it comes to heating up the lug or the wire. So just put a little bit of solder on your iron. Okay, now I'm going to start with the wire. I'm going to go ahead and touch the very tip, touch the solder to the wire, and then just go down the wire. Bam. Bam. Oh, this wire is a little dirty. Okay, and you can see that I left a ball of solder on there. And that's because my soldering technique, it works really good when you leave solder on the wire, because then all you gotta do is touch the solder joint to the lug and just heat it up real quick, and it will flow. And that's why we're going to do the second part right here, which is we're going to clean the tip of the iron, tin it real quick. Now I'm going to touch it right down here to the lug, get some solder in there. As we heat it up, you see that the solder just wants to wet and stick right to that lug. Bam, just like that. So you see how I'm both feeding the wire into the joint and I'm moving the soldering iron around, and the solder will follow the heat. So as I move the soldering iron around, the solder will follow it around. And you can tell I got a nice even disc right there of solder. So I'm going to take the wire. You can see the solder ball on there. I'm going to place it right over where it's got to go. And just touch the solder real quick. Bam. And that is a solid solder joint. And it's really that quick. As long as you prep your wire and prep the pad, make sure that they're both clean and that they're tinned, and then go ahead and touch them together and then just tap the iron to them real quick. You're good. So now you can go ahead and clean your soldering iron tip, tin it, and shut off your soldering station. It's good to go. Alright guys, hope you learned something. Thanks a lot.